this morning says, "Be patient, therefore, brethren, until the coming of the Lord." How many people this morning have patience? Don't lie, you're in God's hands. Stanislaw J. Leck once said, "You must first have a lot of patience to learn to have patience." Many of us would agree with that, wouldn't we? It does seem that those who are patient people had it to begin with. But I want you to think about a couple of scenarios this morning. You're at the grocery store. You have a very busy evening ahead of you. You find that your shopping cart has a wheel that drags. You know, that annoying drag and push-pull sound that it makes. You finally finish your shopping and you choose a checkout counter with only 2 people ahead of you. But the checker is new on the job. Her hands tremble. Beads of perspiration dot her brow. She finally gets to you and her cash register tape runs out. She doesn't know how to change it. You're delayed. How do you react? It's finally date night. You're going to your favorite restaurant. You fasted most of the day so that you can gorge tonight. You've made reservations so you won't have to wait. But when you arrive, you learn that the restaurant does not have your reservation. The manager asks if maybe you called a different restaurant in a different location in town. You're given a menu and escorted to a crowded bench. There you sit, hungry as the emperor penguin in winter, with a menu that you might begin to gnaw on. What's your response? You see, the genuineness of our faith is proven at these intersections in life. The best test of our Christianity takes place in the mainstream of life, not in the quietness of a worship service, not in the quietness of a Bible study. It's in those grocery lines, those busy restaurants, those delays, that traffic jam, those setbacks, those hindrances in your life. That's where our genuine faith is proven. James was a man interested in helping people like you and me develop a faith that really works in the mainstream life. He knew that one distinguishing mark of genuine faith is patience. So James begins his text with a simple command, be patient. He uses the word patience 4 times in the text that we read a few moments ago. The original Greek term for patience is a compound word taken from two other words. One word means long, the other word means far. Or long or far, the other word means anger or wrath. Putting the two together, we come up with the literal translation, long-angered or long-tempered. You've heard the expression short-tempered. Well, the original Greek translation of patience is long-tempered. It goes without saying that patience is a rare and remarkable virtue among people today. Who among us has not uttered that now famous American prayer, Lord, give me patience and I want it right now. The great American statesman Thomas Jefferson worked out a way to handle his impatience. He included it in his rules of living, which he outlined the adult men and women on how they should live. He wrote, when angry, count to 10 before you speak. That's where that came from, Thomas Jefferson. He also said, if very angry, count to 100. You see, our ongoing impatience has a way of robbing us of our testimony. It injures our home lives. It injures our relationships with family, friends, and co-workers. We need to understand what it means to be a patient person. Some of the original readers of this letter from James were people struggling with their own impatience. The context of these verses implies that James' readers may have been very poor, working-class people who had been mistreated by the rich. Under these circumstances, it would have been very understandable for them to be impatient and angry, for they were being abused and they were being denied their rights from a human perspective, and they were wondering when God was going to end this. It brings me back maybe 2,000 years, 1,950 years later, to the plight of the black men in America. and how after overcoming slavery and getting slavery abolished, the black man in America was still trying to get his rights, still trying to feel like that he was a human. It reminds me of a song that Brad Paisley has out right now. It's called Welcome to the Future. And there's a verse at the very end of it that says, from the woman who got on a bus to the man who got a dream, what must they think today that we have elected a black president? Now, I'm going to tell you something. Regardless of your politics, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or Independent, you've heard me say it before, God smiled upon America when America finally came together and let not color determine who they were going to elect. Whether Obama had been black, red, or yellow, or he had another name, didn't make any difference. The fact is that we have overcome, to a certain degree, some of the things that black people have been fighting for 200 years. And it's about time. Because that's exactly the type of people James was talking to here. They were being oppressed. It wasn't a black-white thing. It was a rich-poor thing. But they were being oppressed. James is very concerned about how you react to the pain and suffering that comes into your life. He wants you to help learn how to respond to injustice, delay, and difficulty in a godly way. So he tells us a couple of real important things. Number one, he tells us the promise of the Lord's coming. That's what he says right there in the first verse that we read, verse 7, isn't it? Be patient. Why? Because the Lord is coming. That's why we should be patient. Because no matter what we're going to go through, Jesus is coming again. You believe that? He is coming back for his bride. There is hope. In verses 7 through 9, James linked between being patient and knowing the Lord is coming back. He says, be patient, brothers, until the Lord's coming. See how the farmer waits for the land to yield its valuable crop, and how patient he is for the autumn and the spring rains. You too be patient and stand firm, because the Lord is coming. Don't grumble against each other, brothers, or you will be judged. The judge is standing at the door. God means for us, those of us who believe in Jesus Christ as Savior and Lord, to find great comfort in the fact that Jesus Christ is coming back again. To the person who suffers in this life, Christianity offers the only true hope. That hope rests in the return of Christ and God's promise of a new heaven and a new earth. Place where there'll be no pain, no suffering, no injustice. But I'm afraid that the return of Christ is seen by many people today as nothing more than a fascinating, futuristic concept, fun to discuss and study. But the truth is, a lot of people feel it has little or no effect on daily living or struggles. It's usually written off as a pie-in-the-sky theology, or seen as a form of religious escapism. But the truth is, the return of Christ is meant by God to undergird us and to give us strength and to increase our faith, especially in times of adversity and hardship. We are to be able, when we get into those situations, those trials and tribulations that beset us, to think about Jesus coming back to get his people, and that should increase our faith. That should help us to get through those trials and tribulations, because we know God has never lied. Never. And he's not lying about Jesus Christ coming back again either. The great theologian G.C. Berkover once said, pain can be seen as the great not yet of eternity. It reminds us of where we are, and it fans us in a thirst of where we'll be someday. Because we know where we'll be someday, there is no pain.